Hey guys, Stevie Dahl here with Homefront Harmony, and today's episode is a very special episode for me because we are talking to an amazing human being about amazing things they are doing, and as you know, I always got to tie it back in personally, so please join me in welcoming today's guest, Dave Crete. How are you, my friend, sir?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me, Stevie.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for your service. I appreciate it. You are a vet. You did serve in the Air Force, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we always ask, what made you go into the Air Force?
One, I believe that it was kind of a good thing, right thing to do at the time. And number two, I looked at my buddies that I hung out with in high school and what our high school activities were and figured college was going to be something I'd only get kicked out of.
Okay.
So maybe should take a different direction until I figured out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the Air Force military in general is pretty good at giving you a little direction, discipline, and helping you figure that out. So that's what I did.
I love it. I'm actually still on my year off between high school and college.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Eventually I'll get there. It's fine. So you went into the Air Force. Now, how long were you in?
6 years.
Okay. And what did you do when you were in the Air Force?
So the first 4 years, 4+ years, I was an Air Force cop, security policeman.
Gotcha.
And then one day at work, I was running up a hill on an exercise and my knee went down the hill.
Oh, no.
And I ended up getting a desk job thereafter. But,
better for the knee.
Yeah, it was a fairly boring job, actually.
Okay.
After being a cop where you're always out and about to being in an office. So,
okay.
But it was great. It was all great. I had amazing assignments.
That's awesome. Now, is being in the desk job what ended up getting you to transition out of service? Would you have stayed longer, do you think, if you'd been able to stay?
Yeah, I think I would have stayed longer had I been able to stay a cop. Mm-hmm. The one of the issues was this career field that I transitioned into, you couldn't make rank.
Oh. Okay.
There wasn't a need for much rank. And so, I won NCO of the quarter for our wing and all kinds of awards and stuff. And I wasn't going to get the next stripe. So
okay. Gotcha.
Figured my path to finding more success was outside the military.
Okay, got you. And when you transitioned out, what did you end up doing?
So I went to work as a ship and receiving clerk in a helicopter parts company because the guy that hired me figured, well, you're in the Air Force, so you know something about helicopters.
Okay.
I knew nothing about helicopters. Okay. I did the strip tour when I was stationed here, where you go up in the air and a helicopter, look around and land. That was my knowledge of helicopters. They went up and down.
There you go.
So I ended up going to work there, and then I worked for him for 5 years and started running his sales department and doing different things, and I liked that. And then I opened up my own company doing some similar stuff.
Okay.
And when I got out, we had moved down to Phoenix, so I was doing that down in Phoenix. That's where I was from. And then in 2001, we moved back to Vegas, and my wife and I have had a real estate brokerage ever since.
Oh, that's funny. So it comes back to real estate a lot. So my husband's a real estate broker in Vegas, been doing it over 22 years, something like that. But we've had a lot of guests that were former military end up going into real estate, which is funny because a lot of people don't think of military individuals being in the sales world. Quite a few military people end up doing sales because they like the freedom of being their own boss, It's an interesting dynamic, I think, that we get to see in it. Now, so we're going to segue into, because you do a charity business that you run that is a little personal and special to me. And really one of the main reasons I wanted to get you on this podcast, not only because you're a veteran, but because of everything that you're doing with the invisible enemy. And so I'm going to actually give you just a moment to tell us what it is about.
So 10 years ago, I think the government probably hates the day that Facebook was invented. So the guys that I served with up on the Nevada test and training ranges, which is where people think the UFOs are. Mm-hmm. It's a place where the government does things out of people's sight. Right. Where they can do secret things and keep them secret. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was stationed. When you left that kind of job at that time, there was no cell phones and emails. So it was very difficult to stay in contact. So we all lost touch with one another. Thinking this was back, I got in that unit the end of 83 through 87. And so I lost touch. Well, in comes Facebook, and I get a Facebook message from a guy who was in my wife and I's wedding. And he says, hey, is this Cujo? And that's my nickname from the service.
Okay.
And I looked at it and I saw who it was. And I'm like, yeah. And we started chatting. And he goes, hey, we just had a little reunion. Some of us got together. We want to have another reunion. Everybody gets together. And so that happened. It happened at my house here in Vegas. And when we just got together, people were still flying into town. We had about 25 people come in town for that event. Well, at the time, there was 8 of us sitting in my backyard, and we're doing what grumpy old GIs do. We're sitting in the backyard drinking and telling stories.
Right.
You know, and catching up. What happened to you over the last 30 some years? And one of the guys asked a question. He goes, does anybody here have a tumor? Well, that was not typical conversation for a group of guys sitting around drinking beer. And I responded back to him. I said, yeah, Randy, I do. I had one like the size of a grapefruit on my back. I got a bunch of others around my body. And he's like, well, I have one in my back. And it looked the exact same as mine did. Looked like if you stuck a hard-boiled egg underneath your skin. And almost the exact same spot.
Wow. And
lo and behold, of the 8 of us in my backyard, six of the guys go, I have them too.
Wow.
And one of the guys, the 7th guy, says, well, I don't have any. But my son, who was conceived when I was uprange, he was born with a tumor. And then I brought that back and I said, my oldest son was born with something called neurofibromatosis, which nobody knows what that is.
Yeah, I have no clue.
Our generation remembers that Cher did a movie called Mask.
Yes.
And that kid's very disfigured.
Yes.
There's 2 forms of NF. My son has the form where the tumors are inside and not disfiguring.
Okay.
But it's truly a significant issue.
Yeah. And
it's a tumor problem. It's where tumor grow on nerve endings and things and on organs and stuff. And so what's the chances of that? When I got out of the Air Force, I went to college and I got a couple business degrees. Okay. And my area of emphasis or study that I liked was stats and economics. Okay. And so that stats is sitting there telling me there's no way that I've never had a conversation with a group of people before about tumors. And now I'm sitting around a patio table and 3/4 of the guys have tumors. Right. And 2 kids have tumors.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
My favorite thing in college to do was to research. If I had to do a fill-in-the-blank test to remember somebody's name, I'd have flunked out. If I could do research on something, I was golden.
Okay.
So I start researching. I want to know why.
Right.
We understand there's a nexus.
Right.
But what's the why? And so that turned into, from 2014, 2015 into April of 2023, that I formed the Invisible Enemy. I put together a board of directors. We filed for a 501c3. We did a press release that got 54 million hits. I had somebody step up and say, hey, my company wants to work with you pro bono. I put her on the board. She owns an advertising marketing PR firm here in Vegas. Okay. And, everybody thinks it's like, oh, it's Area 51 or whatever. That's all a misnomer. But as soon as you start to talk about what happens out there in the Nevada desert, people want to know, because the first question is there aliens? Right. And it's like, no, it's got nothing to do with that. Yeah. But it's got cool stuff. And so everybody's curious. And so that really kind of forced us forward, if you will. And now we're 2.5 years later, and we have 3 pieces of legislation now that are introduced in Congress in D.C. We have one that I've been getting told for the last few days I'm going to find out the result of. Okay. So it's stressing me out. Yeah. But that is the first step, is to get the military to say what they've been denying. My issue, the issue that the guys I served with, men and women that I served with, is the fact that the Department of Defense says there isn't there. Therefore, we weren't there, so we weren't exposed. So all of these medical conditions that we all have that are significant, they say it's not our problem. So no, you can't you can't get a service connection for your cancers or your tumors or your whatever. And the Department of Energy has already connected their employees and contractors to the exposure out there. And they weren't exposed to nearly as much stuff as we were, because they were exposed to one thing, basically, the radiation. Horrible thing. we have everything else associated with a military base, and we got some extra special ingredients out there because of what we did. And most of us are sick. Mm-hmm. And we put together 2 years ago, June, mm-hmm. I put together a memorial list for the DOD people that worked out on the NTTR, Nevada Test and Training Range, that have died. So here's the bad news. These are small units. Mm-hmm. This isn't Nellis Air Force Base or Camp Lejeune. Right. And so far, we've identified 526 people that we know that have died. And the average age of death on that list is 62 years old. Mm. And so it's really this tragic story. And the government sits back and says, it's not our problem. And when I was doing my research that really prompted this, about 5 years ago, I find a document that's an environmental assessment of the range that says it's all bad, but the juice is worth the squeeze. So the future environmental liabilities this is going to create are outweighed by the benefits to national security and having a well-formed nuclear force and on and on. And it's like they decided that we were all worth it, that our kids were worth. All of my kids have health problems. I have horrible health problems. Mm. And they decided it was worth it. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, you made that decision. Now you need to help these people mm-hmm. that you did this to. Mm-hmm. And they say, oh no, you were never there. And obviously it's a lie. And people that live in Las Vegas here, they see the planes at the airport. Mm-hmm. If they've lived here for a while, they know somebody who worked up somewhere that flew to work or drove to work and can't talk about what they did. Yeah. And people honor that oath. Mm-hmm. But the government needs to honor their promise too. Mm-hmm. And so everything about the invisible enemy is to hold the government accountable for the decisions that they've made and take care of the people that they intentionally, knowingly harmed.
And now you're not just focused on the veterans who served out there. You also encompass those civilian employees who worked out there for the government as well. It's anybody who was Correct. Out there. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's specifically the DOD. Gotcha. Everybody affiliated with the DOD, because there's two entities out there. There's Department of Energy and Department of Defense. Okay. Department of Energy 25 years ago had a bill passed that provided for those that worked out there that were Department of Energy employees, Department of Energy contractors, like the Sandias and the Wackenhuts or whoever mm-hmm. it was that was working out there. And I testified twice this year at House Veterans Affairs Committee. And one of my points is, look, the government found it worthy to provide benefits for the guy that worked in the chow hall that cooked my cheeseburger because he was a Department of Energy contractor. Mm-hmm. But they don't find those of us that ate the cheeseburger worthy of being taken care of. Mm-hmm. And so our real ask is we just want to be an equal member as a citizen and an equal member of the veterans community. Mm-hmm. We're not asking for something special. Right. We're just saying this system, this veteran system that's set up out there, let us access it like anybody else does. Yep. Don't say, well, you had a top secret security clearance, therefore, you're screwed. Mm-hmm. Doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. And I know that this is a heavy topic, but I need you all to understand the reason we started Homefront Harmony, the reason we talk about these things. I am very proud of my country. I think my country is amazing. I am proud of my father's service to my country, but we are human beings running a country. And there are going to be things that we're not doing right that we need to fix. And we have to have these conversations to be aware and bring them to attention. I lost my dad because of the death side. Yeah. And luckily, we were acknowledged and my mother is okay and taken care of, but I'd rather have him. Yeah. And thankfully, I haven't had any issues because they were pregnant with me during part of his time out there. So there could have been a risk there. I'm grateful for that. But I don't think people understand how many people work out there, how many people were affected by what they do out there. It's I think a lot of times with military and stuff that we do, it's what you see in the movies. You know, it's that don't look behind the curtain, just see what you see. And there's so much more that goes into it with what a lot of people commit and serve to. So I mean, man, just the fact that you're dealing with the political people, my friend, because I don't know how you do
It's called bourbon.
Oh my goodness, man! That is, I do not do well with the political side of the space. It's crazy. Like I wonder on that Veterans Affairs board that you spoke with, how many actually served? That's it.
More didn't than did.
And it's a discussion we've had about the mental health. A therapist may be trained to be able to speak to someone, but if they have not spent time in combat, they're not going to understand what the person who spent time in combat lived. You know?
To emphasize what you just said is, so yesterday I had what's called a CMP exam.
Okay.
And it was for a mental evaluation.
Okay.
And the therapist I go to see, wasn't for the VA, somebody who's contracted, and I go see him. And he's like, so what was socialization like for you? You know, once you got through basic training and you did all your training and you go to work and, you know, and all that camaraderie. And I'm like, well, you have all that. He's like, so, you know, how was that socialization? How were you out in the community? I said, you didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do you mean? I said, you didn't talk to anybody. You didn't socialize with anybody outside your immediate unit, you know, and to explain to him, I said, you talked about things so little. When my wife and I got married, and next year's 40 years for us.
Congratulations.
And when we got married, she knew I was an Air Force cop. Mm-hmm. She didn't know really what I did. Mm-hmm. She didn't know where I went. Mm-hmm. She didn't always know when I was coming home. Mm-hmm. And she knew when I got home, there would be no conversation.
Yeah.
Pretty trusting because it's like, so how was work? It's fine.
Yeah.
It could have been the worst week you could imagine. It was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I got in trouble once because I told her I was outside on a walk-in post and it was raining. And my flight chief came to me and he says she could look at a weather map and figure out where it was raining and where it wasn't and narrow down where you are. And I'm like, my flight to work's only half an hour. She could narrow down we're not in New York too.
Right.
Wrong answer.
Yeah.
But it was a very different life. I said, you didn't socialize. You didn't talk about things ever. You didn't even call anything, like we had the F-117 stealth fighter. You never said, oh, well, there's another stealth fighter.
Right.
It was a resource. Everything was just a resource. You never talked. And he actually was struggling to understand. And he's like, this is just fascinating. You lived an entire life and never said nothing about nothing. I said, no, you didn't. And so kind of to your point that people don't understand. People don't understand. And it's okay they don't.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that same life experience. I don't understand everything they've been through.
Right.
But, you know, it was very unique then, but now it's tough because we're sitting back going, holy crap, our buddies are dying. And, you know, and we know I had to have the conversation with him, you know, about, you know, how do you feel about your own mortality?
Right.
And I said, I know how this ends.
Right. Yeah.
It's a weird way to look at life.
Yeah.
But because it's happening to all your buddies.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a few people that it affects everybody different. Like you were born without problems and God bless you. My kids were all born with problems.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the luck of the draw.
It is.
And, you know, for me and for many of us, you know, our struggle is you went to work, you brought this stuff home, you gave it to your kids.
Yeah.
Live with that. Mm-hmm. And then the government goes, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad used to tell stories. He had a flight jacket he wore, and he had to clip on his little radiation tag
dosimeter,
so they could see. But what's funny is you hit on a very interesting point. So when I at one point in my career, I worked in federal contracts and I had a clearance, and my husband kept asking me to tell him something, and I'm like, "There's nothing to tell you." And he's like, "You have to tell me something." So we had to sit down with my parents and have a conversation. And you know, my dad said to my mom, "What do you know about what I did?" She goes, "You were a sailor. You went to sea. You were in supply." And my husband was like, "Well, don't you want to know this?" And my mom goes, "I don't need to know." You have to have a need to know, which is the thing they talk about with the need. And it just, because my husband's a curious guy, it was driving him insane kind of thing. And I turned to him and I said, honey, I had a, clearance. I went to my dad and said, okay, I had this level clearance. What did you work on? And my dad said, you don't need to know, because that's what's ingrained, it's what's in you.
And you never ever said it. Like yesterday when I was getting this evaluation, I said, one of the things I said, you have to understand is, I said, you never said what anything was at work. Everything was a resource.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because you never wanted to say it, because if you'd say it once, well, maybe it'll slip and you'll say it twice. Mm-hmm. That you would talk in your sleep, that you would do anything. You feared doing any of those kind of things.
Right.
I mean, some of the people, it didn't happen when I had knee surgery, but I know some of the people, and I don't know why it didn't happen to me, that there would be somebody assigned to stand in that surgery to make sure you kept your mouth shut.
Oh, because of anesthesia.
Yeah, because they would fear that you would talk. Mm-hmm. And so if something happened and somebody started to talk, they'd kick everybody out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it was just so different.
It is very interesting, and maybe you don't know this, but the whole loose lip sync ships thing came about back when under President Roosevelt. And it came about because housewives during the war would be doing their laundry in the backyard and talking about, oh, my husband's ship just passed this point, or my husband just got me a letter that he's there or he's not knowing that their other neighbor was actually a spy. Because in those days it was, where, you could infiltrate a little differently. And so these lives would be put in danger because you were just chatting with friends about your thing. And what we tend to do is we go completely extremes from one to the other when we determine and we do. And that's where I feel like a lot of this came into, that makes sense to me from a national security level for certain things to be the way that they are. And then there are other areas where, no, we need to actually have a conversation about it and get the word out on it. That is not a line that I say I can clearly define on everything for everybody. I'm not the know-it-all, end-all, be-all. But I am, my father was very transparent, had no secrets with us. But there are certain stories from his time in Vietnam he never told us. And there are certain parts of his service that we just never were to be privy to. And it wasn't done in a condescending or wrong way. It was just, that was the way it was. That was how he was not okay with that line being crossed there. But I find it interesting that you said like the sleepwalking and the anesthesia, because I don't think people realize once you get put under like anesthesia, you don't know how you're going to react. It's like when people get drunk. Some people are happy drunk. Some people are angry drunks. We don't know until we see you in that.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? And that's so true with the drugs. That's who knows? I mean, my dad had one surgery in his life, and it was when they had to emergency take him in to get the tumor, which turned out to be 2 out of his colon. But other than that, the man never had surgery, and it's like,
it was a weird life, but
yeah.
What's happened with the invisible enemy since we started this, at first, my biggest concern was because of the area that we worked and all of the myths that go along with it, was to make sure that what I said was 100% factual. Yeah. And to go so far as, when I've gone out and when I speak, I have a government document that backs up everything I say, because I didn't want the government, plausible deniability. Okay, let's remove that. Number 2, all the conspiracy theorists that are out there, and to say something and then somebody comes back and goes, you're full of it. Yeah. Okay, that's not true. Yeah. Because people argue with me. They're like, oh, no, I know that there's an alien out there and stuff. And I'm like, dude, I went up when I was 18 years old. If I'd have seen E.T., there would be some pretty clear pictures of that.
Subtle's not in Dave's dictionary, people.
Yeah. And so, no, I'm not good at that. Yeah. But I wanted to make sure that it was, there's a word that was used in a movie, one of the old King Arthur type movies, that my word is beyond contestation. Yeah. I wanted to be that guy. Yeah. So they couldn't refute what I said. And it really pissed off a lot of people. And at the same time, it made it so that our message would grow.
Yep.
And I did there was a lady here in town who used to be a reporter at the RJ, and now she's at the AP. But I called her up and I said, Jessica, I really need you to do a story for me.
Yeah.
And it was the first story that we did about the invisible enemy. Mm-hmm. And now I look at this year, I've been in the White House.
Yep.
I've testified before Veterans Affairs Roundtable on toxic exposure. I've spoke at that twice this year. I was on this huge, the Veterans Voice thing that was put on by The Hill and News Nation, and was on C-SPAN and all this stuff. Seen hundreds of thousands of times. I've been in that. We talked about TikTok earlier. Mm-hmm. The Daily Mail did a TikTok of me and got 11 million views. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about that stuff, but my daughter was like, "Oh my God, Dad!"
So it's good because she said so.
Yeah. So she's like, "You got to reach my generation." Okay. But all these different things have gone on, and we meet with members of the House and Senate and committee staffs and do all this stuff. And I try to tell people this is what's happened to us. When Tunnels to Towers, which is an organization I have huge admiration for.
Love Tunnels to Towers.
There is an event that took place one day that our generation, they know, where you were, what you were doing, that feeling you had when you saw a tower go down. And they are inseparable from that event. I'm not saying that's good or bad or whatever.
Right.
But that is what it is. 9/11 and Tunnels to Towers and stuff. They're married at the hip, and it draws an instant reaction. I mean, people have an instant feeling when they start thinking about that. We're a group of people that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what we did. Nobody knows where we did it. And we're not telling them.
Right.
So it's kind of a different place to go from. And from 2.5 years, we've been blessed. There's, the company here in town, Brand, who does all of our marketing, public relations, and everything for us here. There's some folks that work at Red Rock Strategies, which is a lobbyist group that has helped connect us up with some people. We have Aiken Gump in Washington, D.C., which is a huge, top 2 in the nation lobbying firms. It came on and said, they came to us and said, "We'd really like to work for you." I'm like, "You're like $25,000 a month to look in the window."
Right.
I don't think I can afford your window shopping. And they're like, no, we're going to do this all pro bono.
Nice.
I'm like, and so then I'm like, okay, so you'll give me an introduction to somebody. I'll take any introduction. Oh no, it is like I'm the highest paid client around. And, all these things have opened up.
Yeah.
And, News Nation has run stuff. CBS News has run stuff. We've been in papers. We've now had 45.3 billion impressions worldwide since we started this. There's a company that you hire. It's called Cision. And our public relations company maintains a Cision account for us. And we get all these counts, and we get, the word salad of what's the keywords that people are searching on, and where's all your traffic coming from. And how many stories? We've had over 17,000 news stories now written about us. And I tell people, I'm nobody from somewhere.
Right.
Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm a vet.
You're a fighter.
This is crazy. I mean, being here today is such an honor for us because this helps us. One more person's going to find out about something. We're going to find one more of our vets.
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a big thing with the podcast when we started it, because there are resources. There are groups like your group fighting for, or, working in ways, and people don't know. And they need to know they have access to that information. They have that availability, that support, whatever it is. We've had a lot of conversations about mental health, and we have had so many different avenues of how to help their mental health that didn't just revolve around drugs.
Yeah.
And people didn't know. And that's why we want to talk about it. That's why we want to get it out there. I will say that you coming on this podcast means so much to me. This is personal to me. It's personal to you. Half of the reason you are such the warrior with this too is because it is personal for your fellow vets, for your family, for that usually makes the fight stronger when you have that personal connection. But just from a simple humanity point of view, there are people hurting that need help. Yeah. Boom. That's the bottom line.
And veterans suck at asking for help.
They really do. Bless your hearts. I love you, but you do. Yes.
It's just, it is what it is. We suck asking for help. We don't know what questions to ask. Like me, all the stuff that I've been dealing with the VA, on some projects and stuff that I'm working with them on. One of the projects that I'm actually working with the VA on is to create a proactive way through the use of various technologies to tell veterans, these are what your benefits are.
Yeah.
Here's a hit sheet. Hey, your rating went up 10%. This opens up this envelope of things, because on their own, they're never going to ask.
Yeah.
And we don't even know. I found out like 3 months ago that I could file for travel expenses for mileage to go back and forth to all these things that they, want me to go to, these different appointments. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I've only been dealing with you guys since like 1989.
Right.
Didn't know that.
A year after my father passed, we got a letter from the VA letting us know that he received 100% disability because, well, he died. Yeah. I'd call that 100% disability.
Yeah.
Just like, but it was like, it took a year to have that. We are very reactive versus proactive. And we do need to change that slide and get ourselves to be far more proactive than reactive to it. It's a dynamic. It's ridiculous. I will say that perspective is so different. I've mentioned this on so many occasions. When I was 8 or 9, my dad would leave the house if he went to sea or whatever. I knew he might not come back. I didn't think he was going to die. He was indestructible. Yeah. But I knew there was a chance he wouldn't come back, and that's what he was willing to do because he believed in his country, and and that's kind of messed up that I knew that at that age, but it was my life.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, it was just the way that life worked, and he was always very proud of his service. I mean, he gave up a college scholarship to go serve in the Navy and did 2 tours in Vietnam, and actually is one of the ones who came back okay. Don't know how. Just that guy there. But I think that sometimes the misconception is that veterans have to have been in combat to have any kind of issues, whether it be medical, mental, etc. And that's not the case. It's not that you went and were in war. It can be on home soil and you dealt with something that just, hit.
You have bad days at work.
You do.
And there's nobody. You said your father came back and he was fine. And he wasn't.
Yeah.
Because you cannot enter the military and come out the same person.
True. Mm-hmm.
And it's things sometimes I think that people never know.
Yeah.
And I don't even know that the veteran necessarily knows. Mm-hmm. But, I became a volunteer high school football coach and youth football coach for 26 years.
Okay.
And I look at these kids and I graduated high school. A month later, I'm in basic training and what I went through over the next 6 years. And then when I came home, I looked at my peers and I couldn't even have a conversation with the guys that I went to high school with. We were in a different place. And now I've watched my kids, go through high school and graduate and, go to college or do whatever it was that they did. And I look at some of the kids that I coached at the same age and they went off and they joined the military or whatever and they come back and it's like, it's just different.
Oh yeah.
It's just different. I'm not saying it's better or worse.
No.
But you're different. That is a different set of life experiences.
And it's different person to person too. It's not a set, everybody who did boot camp comes out this way. Everybody changes in some way because I've watched people that interacted with how my father handled stuff in the military versus how other people handled stuff. And you see that individualism just slightly how they handle it. You can just, if you watch it, you can see it kind of thing. My father was so positive in his outlook, ever positive thoughts guy, strong in his faith as a Christian. You know, I remember when the doctor, when it woke him up in the hospital, we had him in the hospital when we first had a scare, and doctor comes in like 11:30 at night, wakes him up. He had finally gotten to sleep. And he was like, you know, we found some spots that we're concerned about. We saw something on the scan. And my dad goes, am I going to die? And the guy goes, are you military? My dad said, I'm a Christian. Am I going to die? The doctor was a little like, whoa.
Yeah.
But that's how he was. That was how he handled things, you know. And
You get kind of matter of fact.
yeah. Yeah. Which is good in certain scenarios. It's helpful.
I'll tell you, when you go talk to Congress, it's good.
It is good.
Because they don't know how to handle that one.
Dude.
Oh, wait, can you sugarcoat it? No.
I have to say, the fact that I've watched little tidbits of you dealing with that, and man, you have a patience and a cool, calm demeanor, my friend, because I don't know. I can't. Nah.
The first time I testified, so I've been involved in politics since soon after I got out of the military.
Okay.
Because when you're in the military, your job means something.
Yes.
Okay. When you go get a civilian job, it's a paycheck, but there's not the same meaning. The guy that's in the cubicle next to you doesn't care about you the same way as the guy who's responded to an incident, you know, with his automatic weapon ready to go. And, you know, it's a little bit different. So I wanted to find something with meaning. And to me, I love economics. Politics is all about economics.
Okay.
So you can make a difference in politics, so I want to get involved. So I did. So I learned how the system works. I did all the research on why we were sick.
Okay.
I know how the political system works.
Okay.
So that's why I decided to do what I do. I know how to make a law. I've got laws passed before. I don't give two cruds about the folks. They don't scare me, they don't bother me, and they're never going to intimidate me. So let's go. And I go there and I just tell a story. I don't write a speech, and it drives folks that I'm with sometimes a little bit nuts. They're like, you need some notes. I don't need any notes.
Yeah.
Because if I write them, I'm going to forget that I wrote them and I'll never look down. But when I went the first time, and this was amazing to me, and it gives us hope. And that is, I sat there in front of, I don't know, 10 or 12, whatever, members of Congress. And almost every single one of them was crying by the time I was done in 7 minutes. Because you can sit back there behind that desk in your big leather chair, and we're asking you to help a group of guys that's dying.
Yeah.
Not maybe.
Yeah.
You know, people that work out there, your father. The story repeats itself over and over and over. I'm the one that gets the call from the widow saying, how are you going to help me? Let me tell you about Bob.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you sit there and listen? You all sit back here in this office in your little ivory tower. You don't have to hear this stuff. So I'll tell you.
And I will say that it doesn't matter what branch they served in. It doesn't matter whether it is the spouse or the child. Military community connects and unites in a way that I've never seen anything else do. And it hurts me when I see if a service member was killed in action or injured in some way. It physically hurts me like they are my own family and blood, just because I grew up in a military household, you know, and just because. So I can't imagine hearing stories from people calling you, telling you that, you know, I applaud you greatly for taking this on, for fighting for this and for doing this and for letting them talk. Because sometimes people just need someone to actually hear them. You know, they need someone to actually hear what they're trying to say. And, you know, the widow's reaching out to you. Someone needs to know, you know, the scenario of what happened. So it's not an easy
my job's to go tell
thing,
their story.
Yeah. Yeah. And you are. And you're doing it amazingly well. And I appreciate the fight that you're doing. I think it's phenomenal. I know there's so many others out there who need help, and I'm so glad you're fighting for them and helping them to try to get there. And I hope that the government keeps listening.
They will.
Good.
You can't pick up. I was on a conference call with some staffers and members of Veterans Affairs 2 years ago. And I said, don't pick a fight with somebody. I've had a great life.
Right.
Have a great family.
Yep.
Made me sick.
Mm-hmm.
My wife had 3 miscarriages as a result. You made my kids sick. I have nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Don't pick a fight with that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So now what do you have? You have the few bills right now that are pending.
Yeah, we have 2 amendments in the 2026 National Defense Authorization Act.
Okay.
That's the bill that funds and authorizes the military for the next year.
Okay.
Huge debates right now going on. One of our portions we know is going to pass.
Okay.
Another one, the most important one, the one that says there is there, we were exposed, and will make NTTR a Superfund site, which is a huge designation, which is what the Department of Energy has given it. Mm-hmm. That's what I was hoping to know this last week, if that amendment was able to stay in. And it's literally down right now to where it's up to the speaker. Speaker Johnson holds the key to whether or not I'm successful on that.
Okay.
And that's no exaggeration. He is literally the only one that we need him to give us a waiver on something that's minuscule.
Okay.
So we're waiting to hear if we get that. Then we have HR 1400, which is in the House,
okay,
which was the original bill that we started with 2 years ago, which is to start the recognition process for folks out there. That was introduced by Congressman Amadei from up in Reno and Congresswoman Susie Lee here in Vegas.
Okay.
And then Senator Rosen is carrying the Senate bill for us. She introduced it. It is the most powerful piece of legislation that we have right now in D.C. That hopefully we can get through. All of the Nevada delegation is 100% behind us. Susie Lee, Jackie Rosen, Mark Amadei, those are the 3 biggest. They're actively out there fighting. Dina Titus, Congresswoman Titus, actually testified on our behalf in House Veterans Affairs a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And mentioned us, the invisible enemy, by name. This is what we need to do. So there's a lot of fights going on. I've met with, I couldn't even give you the list of names of the different people. All I care about is their support. I don't care what your name is. Give me support. I don't care what letters after your name. Support us. And the amazing thing is when I go back to DC is everybody's like, what you've done is impossible. We haven't done anything yet.
Right. Right.
You know, give me some positive votes. I'll tell you what we did. And my hope for our future is that not only are we going to be able to complete this, and we're going to be able to get the care for the family members that have been damaged, that have been made sick or have issues as a result, but that we can take these toxic exposure issues, because there's so many little groups like us that have got nowhere, that have been fighting to try to get a bill for 15 years.
Right.
That we can become that tunnels to towers for that group of people. And if I could spend my entire life just advocating for veterans and people hurt on military bases, I'd be the happiest man in the world.
I love that so much. I love that I have a corporate life and a corporate career. This is my heart and passion. Yeah. Taking care of military families, supporting. I
love selling the real estate and doing all that. That's all great. But
yeah.
This is just next level.
This I say, this is what makes me breathe. This is what lets me breathe, because I didn't serve,
but you do now.
And I am trying to contribute the best I can. And I fight a lot for military spouses, because they're kind of the forgotten ones. I mean, I always tell the story. Daddy passed. Mom calls the cell company. They tell her that they're going to take the military discount off. She said, why? I still have a military ID. And they said, you're the spouse. You don't count.
Yeah.
And I went to one of my military spouse groups where people from that company were. And I said, do you know what your employee said to my mother?
Yeah. The word that my wife hated when I was in the service. She is a very independent, strong-willed, intelligent person. Was that she was called a dependent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, my, I am not dependent. Well, you might want to explain that to him, because every form says list your dependent.
Yep.
So you're dependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only pushed that one so hard.
Oh my gosh.
Knocked out.
Well, for years, I mean, they asked for my dad's information before my mom's. If we were going in for anything for my mom, my sister, and I, dad's social.
What's your last
social,
four?
And my mother was like on it.
Four?
Like, yeah, she was. So don't tell me the spouse doesn't serve too, because dang, that woman, she could answer more questions than anybody I know. It's a tough go. But I appreciate so much what you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful for you. And now if you are in the Las Vegas area and you are unaware of some of the things we're talking about, a little bit of insight you can get is the Atomic Museum. They have some memorabilia and some history there. It's not everything, but it is a little bit of insight into it. And it's an interesting little walkthrough. It doesn't take long to get through that at all. I actually was with my husband. We were up in Albuquerque. I had meetings, and he had some friends up there, so we went to visit them, and we went to the Nuclear Museum up there, and they had a plaque in honor of those who served at the test site. And I took a picture of it because there were stickers on there my dad had on his briefcase from when his time. And I matched.
That's cool.
Like 8 of them to what was on his briefcase. And it was like, wow. And I thought, wow, they actually had a plaque recognizing, and it was crazy. So
it's something. It's amazing. And there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
That I tell people, go to our website. We have stuff. We did a mini documentary. We actually won the Santa Fe Film Festival with our mini doc.
Well, there you go. Look at that.
And so I'm like Hollywood famous. I have an IMDb account now. So look me up.
I have an IMDb account. I don't have anything
on it. If anybody making a movie, you need chubby old bald guys, I'm in.
He's there. You got him. He's right there.
Yeah, I'm your prototype for your next gig. But it was all funny,
Yeah.
Just learning about that. Now we're doing a full-length documentary that should be ready to be shown in May of next year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, keep us updated on it and tag us so we make sure that our people know when it's out and they can see it. And we'll get your links up on the website as well so that people know how to find you and research you and, check everything out about it. And thank you so much for everything you're doing. I can't thank you enough. I'd love you to just reiterate to our audience, if they want to find out about the Invisible Enemy, where do they go? How can they help? What do we do?
So we have a website, and it's theinvisiblenemy.org. We have the Invisible Enemy Advocates. Just type in the Invisible Enemy. It'll come up on Facebook. We've got all the other socials. Don't ask me how they work. That's my daughter's job. And you can Google me. My phone number is everywhere, and I don't care. I'll take somebody's call. Best thing to do actually is to text me first, because for some reason now I don't like answering unknown phone numbers.
Fair enough.
I get some crazy ones.
I bet.
But no, if anybody ever has a question, you can go to the website. You can email us. My email is dave@theinvisiblenemy.org. It comes right to my phone. We'll help anybody. We'll do whatever we can. That's our job.
I love that. I can speak from record. When I found out about the Invisible Enemy and everything Dave was doing, I literally messaged him through Facebook to ask you to be on the podcast and talk to us. And he replied like that. He was in DC even when he replied like that. But you did. You were one of my fastest replies I've ever gotten. And I can't thank you enough for that, because it's a lot that you're doing and dealing with the politics and all of the thing. And I appreciate what you said earlier about the letter after their name, because I tell people all the time, it's not about the politics, it's about the people.
It's disheartening when you go back and forth to DC all the time when you see some of it. It's encouraging when you see some of it. But I mean, there's 2 main political parties in this country. I was chairman of one of them down in Phoenix. I've done all kinds of things, and this isn't a right or a right or left issue. It's just simple right and wrong.
Right.
And it's okay if you agree with somebody from the other side on something.
Right.
I mean, I sit there in people's offices sometimes going, man, I never imagined this one.
I bet. I bet.
So I'm a Republican, right? And you said something nice about Senator Rosen. because she's doing a great job on this for
Yeah.
us. Oh, I'm like, no, get over that.
Right.
It isn't what you see on TV.
Mm-mm.
You know, there's good and bad on both sides. The worst meeting I've had in Congress is somebody from my team. I walked out and was like, ugh,
Yeah.
not going to breakfast with her. You know,
I love it.
but you know, they're people.
Yep.
And go in and act like they're people. And it's not about left or right. It's about, this is something, you know, my thing is I want people to know what our government's capable of.
Right.
Because they'd be scared to death. And then maybe they'd pay more attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and don't just all the crud that's on social media. And I'm a super conservative guy, but it's got nothing to do with it.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
be human, have conversations with people, agree to disagree, and be okay agreeing with somebody that you didn't think you would.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's actually okay.
Uh-huh.
Media has everybody wrapped up like, oh, you know, I don't want to get into it, but you know, it's been great when, you know, sometimes I walk in, like I got to go meet Senator Adam Smith, who's the Senate Minority Leader on Armed Services. You know, we had a great conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Rosen has been amazing to us. She is literally our best advocate that we have in Washington, D.C. So I've heard her say things I don't agree with.
Right.
But that's all right. She's wonderful to us. She's been extraordinary to me. Her staff's been great. We were back there. I got to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier on July 5th.
Oh, wow.
Which was, that'll blow your mind.
No kidding.
And so then that following Monday morning, you know, I had reached out to the senator's office because you can go on the big tours at the Capitol, right? But that little private tour where you go into different places, it's next level. And I asked if somebody would do it. We get there and everything is set up. They've got everything done. And my family goes for the tour of a lifetime of the Capitol, you know, and they were like super happy to do it, you know, and you know, a lot of these folks, they have great staffs. They have people that are motivated, you know, they're intelligent. They want to do something good. Let them.
Yeah. It is a big thing for me. Homefront Harmony started from a U.S. Navy daughter, you know, doing this. But I don't care what country, if we are supporting military families, I am a happy girl about it. My husband and I were just in Europe, and it was cracking me up because we were in Paris and they were commenting about politicians and, oh, well, everybody who does this ends up getting arrested, or everybody who does that. And my husband kind of turned and looked at me and goes, that's funny. It's in every country. And it is. It literally is. It just depends on, you know, where you go. So I think that the more we can see people as human beings and focus, you know, on doing what's right. Yeah. Because the double-edged sword of freedom is that you can believe something and someone else can disagree with you.
No, here's the best thing that I'll say. I can talk for days. But my wife's was born in Havana, Cuba.
Okay.
You don't have any rights.
Right.
She immigrated when she was a little girl. I called out the Department of Energy, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Department of Defense and elected officials, and I am not in jail.
Yep.
And I know I'm going to go home to a safe home.
Yep.
You can't do that. You cannot do what I've done in other countries and get by with it.
Very true. Very
so
true.
You can hate all you want and say how bad things are, but I can tell you there's nowhere else in the world that I could do what I've done and cause such a stink and royally piss some people off. Mm-hmm. And I go home at night and I'm fine. I have a great dinner and a glass of wine and hang out with my family, and can't do that in other places.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I am just so thankful for you coming out and being a part of this. Please keep us updated with everything going on. Thank you for royally pissing people off and fighting the fight.
That's fun. That's the fun part.
We appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of the show with us, Dave. We really do. And thank you again for your continued service for those.
Well, thank you for supporting us and helping us get our message out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime we can, feel free to tag us. We got you. All right, my friends, it is that time. You must like, you must share, follow us, Instagram, Facebook, our website, homefrontharmony.org. Check it out. If we're missing a resource, let us know. We will make sure we get it on there for you. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.
Faded photographs, covered now with lines and creases, tickets torn in half.